Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, thanks so much for coming back. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer and soda and water in the fridge. I demand a cheers. Cheers, everybody. Thanks so much. Yes, thank you. Do you thank people at Cheers? I don't know. That doesn't make sense, but thanks. How's everybody doing today? I'm sitting here with the metal band. Doom metal. Dark. Scary. Spooky. Real evil stuff. Make some noise for my friends in the band Horehound.
Thank you. Hold your applause.
Shy returning to the show for a third time.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to have you back. You've brought some of your other halves with you here.
Yes. This is
She has multiple halves.
Yes. This is the closest relationship I've ever had in my life with anybody. So yes, these are my guys.
Yeah, I mean, being in a band can be pretty emotional.
Yes.
It's you're expecting a lot of people. Can you put all this time and energy and money and passion into this thing that, unless you give a shit about it, you're not really going to be getting much else out of it.
Turns out most people can't. So
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
No.
Everybody that thinks they can be in a band, I highly suggest you don't. You should go through a rigorous test. You should go through a rigorous test of kind of like a boot camp just to see if you could do it before you launch a band.
Well, I suppose that, we're all, I'm assuming everybody at this table right now is in their 30s, if not more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty old. Everybody's old. And I feel that at this stage in life, the past 2 decades should have been the figuring it out. So now when I'm still dealing with people that haven't figured it out, that have supposedly been playing in bands since high school, I'm like, how are you still like this?
It's incredible.
But some people they're just the way they are.
Oh, 100%.
I think a lot has to be said. If you look at, not that you get a real job application when somebody's asking to be in your band, but I feel like a lot can be said by, how many bands sometimes a person has been in over the years. It's like, why have you been mysteriously not in all of these bands over the years? And then you work with them for a couple months. You're like, oh, because you're miserable.
Well, I was going to say when Shai said, jokingly, don't be in a band, like don't try it. I think the best test for me was I was in a band. I was in one band before this one. And it was with Mike, who was the original guitarist that we started Horehound with. And for a lot of reasons, that band's not together anymore. But it was like the best thing about that band was it was a learning experience about what being in a band means and what expectations you should set for being in a band.
Yeah.
And how you should set expectations around other people. Because that's probably the hardest part, I think, about being in a band is what you expect of other people and how realistic those expectations are.
Mm-hmm. Over the years, the thing that I've found the hardest to deal with is that difference between, obviously you usually start bands with your friends, but sometimes if you have somebody in your band that's a friend, but they're like a shitty band member, it could be really hard to just kick your friend out of your band, but you kind of just gotta
Rule number 2, if you do start a band, don't start it with your friends. You can become friends with those people, but you don't want to. It's a business. You have to look at it more of a business because if not, you're going to be in a band that you don't have fun in.
I mean, it's possible.
Not everyone, but like you have to be an exceptional crew of very positive, happy-go-lucky people.
I think it's just something to be super duper aware of. There's plenty of bands that I know that have a potential that I feel is much higher than where they currently are. And that the reason why they're being held back is just because of one fucking turd in the band. And it. And you can't sometimes I say it to people, sometimes I don't. It depends on how well I know them. But things happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're here today to talk about your band, Horehound.
Horehound with an H.
Horehound.
That's what I say to any like woman over 50 who clearly isn't into music at all. Oh, what's your band name? It's Horehound with an H. Because I don't know. I feel like I have to rectify that I'm not a whore.
Horehound?
Yes.
She's a hound.
I am a hound. But yeah.
So what's been going on in the Horehound camp in a positive light? We got some new stuff coming out this year. We got some shows. What's cooking in the kitchen?
My favorite new thing about our band is Russ, our new bass player. Russ. Oops. Russ. He's that guy.
It's okay. It's like literally not important. It really doesn't matter.
I know. I'm sorry about that. I feel bad.
Russ auditioned with us, and like out of the people that we auditioned, we were like, here, just learn these 2 songs, and if you're feeling extra whatever, go for this 3rd one. He just like learned our entire catalog in a week and then came out and played and killed it.
Like nailed it.
And killed it.
I just assumed I was the only one to audition.
Yeah, that was
Russ
it.
your
That was
friend?
it. No, he's
We've
a
been best friends
transplant-ish.
since 3rd grade.
Yes. No, that is not
No,
true.
we keep it purely professional.
Yeah.
No, he can tell the story where he's from and what he's done, but
Yeah, how'd you come into contact with Russ? How'd you
Craig's-
enter the picture?
Craigslist.
Yeah.
We're an old school band. We find most of our people through Craigslist.
Yeah.
That's how the band started, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is like surprising because Craigslist is incredibly difficult to find people through. And it's like, I feel like once you get into the music scene, you have kind of established bona fides, you know, and you have acquaintances and you can just, you know, through word of mouth, try and reach out to people. But it's so flaky on Craigslist, like reaching out to people and trying to get a response. And
Yeah.
So, but the band was started that way. And I mean, that's how we found Russ. And
There's been plenty of bands that I've had on the show that have like started with Craigslist too. So even as daunting as it seems, it's been very successful for a whole lot of bands.
oh, for sure. Yeah.
So Russ, you live in the area.
Yep.
You've lived here for a while.
Going on 5 years.
Okay.
Moved up here from Nashville.
Oh, okay. All right. So I thought it would be really funny if like all these years you were just around being this bass player. Because I'm pretty sure Horehound's been a band longer than 5 years or around
Just
5
about
years.
5 years,
Just about
actually.
5 years,
Yep.
right? So that's just funny if you just would have been floating around the whole time and nobody knew. But the city's a lot bigger than I think a lot of people like to say that it is. I mean, it's small in a lot of ways, but also you don't fucking know everybody. There's no way that you know everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I grew up in Iowa, so there's as many people in Pittsburgh as there are in the whole state of Iowa. So it's kind of like everything's just here, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking through Craigslist ever since I moved here, and it was always stuff that didn't really interest me. And I'd seen these guys at Ruggers, I think, and liked them. And then when I saw the ad, I was like, oh, I like all these bands. And so, yeah, sent an email and said I was probably too old.
He did
That's
say
what
that,
most of the
yeah.
ads, you know, they'll say like 21 to 29 or something. But
Yeah, we would never really limit. I mean, obviously you need to be an adult or whatever, you know. Just
Be able to
because
get
we
into
are
bars
older.
is basically the only age.
But yeah,
requirement,
like
you know.
as long as you're over 21, because you can't be, I would say Pittsburgh, but it's even bigger than Pittsburgh. You can't, you know, really go on tour and all of the venues are bar venues. So you kind of have to be over 21. But yeah, our band's progressively getting closer to my age. It's more fun for me because when we first started, I was like the old one. So
I have been the youngest person in the band the entire time that the band has existed.
I'm not the oldest anymore. Thank you, Ross.
That's true.
you're welcome.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. People coming together, all ages.
That's right.
Through the
Ages.
power of heavy metal.
Absolutely.
It brings us together. The
Yeah.
world goes around. So now you got Russ in the band, new music. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working pretty extensively on writing new music. After we brought Russ in, he kind of he came in and we hadn't been writing a lot. We'd kind of been in stale, you know, for a while. But when he came into the band, we had books or gigs booked, like, you know, through the rest of the year. So we kind of had to satisfy those requirements. And, you know, thankfully, like we said, he literally showed up to the audition and knew almost our entire catalog. so there wasn't really much of a training period as far as getting him up to speed with our songs and the feel. And so once we got through the gigs that we had, I kind of, in agreement with the band, decided like we need to like get down to brass tacks and like write. Writing is my favorite part. Writing and the playing out are my favorite parts by far. I mean, writing probably sometimes even more so than the playing out, just for the creative process I like a lot. So we've been writing a lot, and I don't know, I just really like the stuff that we've been coming up with. We're getting much closer to the direction I think that we've had in mind for a long time. So that's really exciting, but hopeful to keep the writing going and at the pace that we've been writing at too. So
That's awesome whenever that energy happens and the output just starts meeting your unrealistic expectations.
Yes. Yeah.
It could be really, really hard. It's a rare thing, but grab that bull by the fucking horns and ride it, cowboy.
Yeah, especially after such a long period of like not really being able to get anything written, just through different personalities and personnel changes. It gets difficult to keep things consistent, especially if you're bringing in new people and working on stuff or working them up to speed on things. So after an extended period of not really getting anything finalized or complete, it's been nice to like actually make real progress on writing stuff that you're excited about. So.
I feel like there's different styles of bands, and some bands may have a more elastic vision of what their output is in terms of like, oh, you can get a bunch of minds to sit down at the table or in the space, and someone might have an idea that's a little outside of the box, and they're like, okay, well, let's do it. And this isn't a slight against Horehound, but I feel that Horehound's output is intentionally a lot more focused to something that's more specific in the realm of like, doom, slow, heavy, you know what I mean? You're not going to get wild and out of salsa part anytime soon.
Right.
Oh, actually, we do have some salsa parts. We have like 2 or 3.
So
we're changing things up.
The point that I'm getting at is that I imagine that it could be hard to find people that also have like a vision that's very as focused as what you've had over the years, and what you've been trying to, the goal you've been reaching to that you said you were finally getting to.
Right. Brendan and I have been the only consistent thing through Horehound, that and the fact that we write the music, and we are always kind of driving towards something, but we're still driving towards it. We're not even there yet. But with each record, we're more excited.
Yeah.
Like we are growing as like, and to add Russ to it, like I feel like we're actually starting to get more towards that goal than we've ever been, and like we're finding ourselves. I like it. I like where we're going.
Yeah, and to that point, I think too, in the past it's primarily Shy and I talking about direction, behind the scenes all the time about what we want. But I think we've been pretty open about talking with Russ and just generally as a band saying like, this is kind of the direction we want to go in. And it's not like we say like we need to write slow or we need to write this or it's got to be doom. It's just like I guess we have an idea in mind of what Horehound should sound like, what Horehound songs should sound like. Yeah. And everybody's a lot closer. Everybody seems to be more agreeable and understanding of what that is. So it's a lot easier to write towards that end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I even see like in our growth that like we're just actually better than we started at doing what we do. Like because we've been working at it so much more. I was a shit singer when I started. I never did it really before, especially like lead singing. I never really had the opportunity. I kept trying to start some bands and it never actually came to fruition, or you would write so long and then someone in the band would be so disagreeable that it just never got there. But Brennan is the first person I was able to actually ride on out and actually record together and then gig together. And like, we're still learning each other and like we're getting more comfortable, and like I feel like we're just getting better through time because of that. Like there's a confidence growth where some people start off with that confidence and then they kind of stay stagnant to whatever they landed on. So I feel like not that to use the term progressive with music, but I think we're progressively getting better.
I think that that's the goal.
Yes.
It's like,
well, a lot of people like even like the bands that are like high and have been touring very like the bigger bands in our scene, they're still broke people, most of them. They still don't make as much money. They're still underground and DIY, but like the people that everybody knows and goes to support, like a lot of their music still sounds like their first record.
Yeah, which sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of like, some of them really did start, or maybe waited before they started producing or something and got their sound. But like, I'm glad that we went about it the way we did, just to get it off the roots or whatever. And yeah,
everybody does stuff for different reasons. I imagine there are some bands that like all I want to do is tour. I just want to live this lifestyle. So if I find a sound that is successful and we could just keep, repainting the same fucking thing and re-releasing it, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, I find in my douchiness of hearts, I find it difficult to call those people artists.
Yeah.
They're more just like, kind of like, they're almost like con men might be a bit of an extreme term, but it's just like, do you really care about the craft of this genre?
or
do you just want to be in a
game?
touring band?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They were creative once.
Yeah.
And now they're just using that, right? And just moving forward. Yeah. I mean, we want to tour a lot too, but like I said, the creative process for me is the most fulfilling part of all of it, with playing out a very close second. I mean, I love road gigs. I love local gigs. I love all of it. But I can't imagine not wanting to like improve and like make the songwriting better. Like I don't know what that mindset is.
Well, I find too, you also have bands that have their sound that's very much the same and it's never going to change. But then they have like these side projects that are super artistic and creative. So it's like, okay, well, maybe, Sleep's going to be the same band forever.
Yeah.
But then you have like an Ohm or whatever, right? Where it's like, oh, this is a little bit more creative and outside the box. And it's maybe not as big of a project, but I'm getting my creative output with this. But this other band is kind of like the paycheck. Just keep rinse, wash, repeat with this, because we can just keep packing out, thousands of people in venues.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I've never been in a position where I've been in a band that put out a record that did really well. And who knows what I would do?
Right.
What would you do in that position?
No, I mean, I think that's a real, that's a real thing that happens. I mean, I think that, these bands probably get the success they didn't think they were going to get. And then you have to make a real decision. It's like, do we stick to the formula, or do we keep trying to improve upon it?
Or you have bands that, they get popular for one thing and then they try to do something different.
Yeah, and everybody
gives them shit.
Yeah.
Your
that
Mastodons or your Baroness and those bands.
That happens
Baroness.
to small bands.
Yeah.
I decided to start doing some more growling, or I call it scrowling because it's between a scream and a growl sometimes, on our second album. And we have just, I don't know, maybe more people thought about it than one person expressed, but one person just deeply, I mean, just this band in Pittsburgh that just put this record out that was like kind of more stoner rock. And then the next one was like a little bit more sludgy, and she growled and she ruined it all, is basically, you don't know what you're fucking doing. Why would she scream? Now she's ruining it.
You've ruined it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. This guy was sending these emails about how much he like.
It wasn't just one.
No, it was multiple emails.
He posted it in like through our Bandcamp and then to our email, and like he was just really wanted us to know that he did not want me to not sing.
I have to show you the chain. I started fucking with him too.
It's like but
it's just like this.
It's like a reverse Opeth effect.
But it is. It really is. But like, it's just kind of like,
I started correcting his grammar in the email.
if you don't like it, you also don't have to listen to it.
Well, I mean, like straight up, there's something unhinged with that
Right.
human being.
Yeah, no, for
And
sure.
you gotta kind of empathize with
But
it.
there are, so like for that person to have known us in our small little world, I couldn't imagine actually being like a larger band that does well, that actually changes anything, what you would receive in those emails. Like they probably, it's probably ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, imagine
and I hope they're standing there laughing like we did when we saw it. Like I wasn't even upset. I was like, whatever, dude. Okay.
Yeah. It's really complicated because everybody's intentions and reasons for doing things are different. You know what I mean? You can say, sure, Opeth, maybe they stopped doing the growly stuff as an artistic expression. Or maybe they did it because they wanted to become more commercially viable.
Right.
Or maybe they did it because they're all like in their 50s and just fucking over it.
Yeah.
There's plenty. That's probably it.
Well, that's like the Black Keys for me, man. Like the first couple Black Keys albums. I mean, when I first started playing guitar seriously and like tried to start playing in bands, like the sound, I literally went to Guitar Center to one of my friends that worked there, and I was like, I want to sound like the Black Keys. Like, what pedal do I get?
Yeah.
And he gave me a Swollen Pickle, and like I played with that, and the early albums of the Black Keys I thought were the greatest thing ever. And after Attack and Release, it was a lot more commercial. They put out like Lonely Boy and stuff like that.
All hockey music.
Yeah. And so, maybe like to your point, like maybe that's genuinely the creative direction they wanted to go in, and it really wasn't driven that much by commercial success. Maybe they were tired of like doing two guys, like the whole band being two guys, and wanted to expand the sound. Like either way, it sucks for me because I don't like it, but I'm sure they had their reasons for doing it. But there's a lot of bands like that. Baroness is one of them too. Like after the Blue album, I just was like, I'm out.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. Like sometimes I feel like with Baroness in specific, just because we're talking about them, I feel like that was just the path that they decided to take creatively.
Yeah.
Because it's not like,
and they had a lot going on too.
I still feel that even though I don't like their music anymore, I still feel like there is artistic, creative qualities to it. Like it's still really good songwriting. Like everything's really well put together. It's not just like just throw it at the wall verse chorus nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
It's just an evolution.
I just straight up don't like his vocals anymore. Everything else, the instrumentation is always gorgeous.
Yeah. I guess he's not a super strong singer.
Some people do.
But a lot of people do like it.
Grammy, right?
Totally.
So a lot of people must like it. It's just not for me,
Yeah, absolutely.
They cycled through a bunch of band members too, so I'm sure that
right.
that makes a difference.
That whole bus crash, and they lost their entire rhythm section and had to start with new people. And
but also like thinking about that kind of music with somebody that's more of like a properly trained vocalist, it would probably sound even worse. There's something kind of like a gruffness to it that still gives it that edge.
Right. That's why I liked his early vocals, because he's not the greatest heavy vocalist, but something about it combined with the style that they had.
He sounds like him. You can put it on and that band sounds like that band, which is cool. It's like whether I like it or not, I always have a lot of respect for bands that can at least find a sound.
Yeah.
And it's not very like,
I think that's important.
I will buy every Baroness record when it comes out too. Even though I don't really care for them anymore. It's just because they were so good.
I've never cared
give it
for
a
them.
Shot, right?
But
the artwork is
But I do feel like what you were saying, they are artistic and they're good at what they do. They just never picked me up. They never got in my head the way they do with some people. So that just happens. But like when people find out that I'm not a fan of Mastodon or Baroness, they're like surprised. Because I guess I should like all of the metal. I don't know. Like but like those are the two biggest bands that people are always like, how do you not like them? It just doesn't pick me up.
Yeah. I get that
Sometimes
a lot.
that happens. I have a problem with overformulated music too. When I can expect every moment, I kind of start getting bored with it.
Sure, it's kind of music takes you on a journey, but what's the point of the journey if you like can predict exactly
Right.
A lot of people love that. Pop music is the most popular music.
Well, it's predictable.
But I feel
and I still love pop
people
music,
know
but,
when they can come in
you
to
have
sing.
expectations, I guess.
There's a chorus, there's a verse, there's that structure.
Well, I think it's weird. There's different reasons for listening to different genres of music.
Yeah.
With pop, I never listened to it expecting a journey. For pop, I always analyze like, wow, like this is what the gold standard for modern production is right now. This is interesting to hear.
Yeah.
It's interesting also to hear like specific use of like simplistic rhythm, chord, and melody, but used in a really effective way. And
That feels like a dopamine hit too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can listen to a lot of that stuff and you can incorporate it into any style of music, regardless of, even if it's something super heavy. A good song that's structured properly is still a good song that's structured properly.
100%.
And a good hook is still a good hook.
Yeah.
One thing that I find, like, especially with metal bands, suffer from the most. I have seen so many metal bands that have great parts, but they can't glue a song together because they suck at transitions.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the ring out 8 times a song just to go from part to part?
Sure, that kind of stuff.
It drives me nuts.
There's a much, or just slamming parts into each other.
Yeah, I think that's more aggressively
there's a lot of
what's going on here?
It's tough too. It's tough. We struggle with that a little bit. We try
but
and
not
do our
as
best.
much as a lot of bands do.
No, not as much. But we've definitely been, put stuff on the cutting board and just been like, we're not using this now. Because I'll usually the process is like we'll come together and put some ideas together that we think sound good, and we'll jam on it for a couple practices. And like I may come in, or Russ or Shy may come in, and I'll be like, does it just sound like we're pushing parts together? And if I have that feeling and more than one person has that feeling, it's like, all right, well, like back to the drawing board, because that's just...
It has happened, but it doesn't happen
No, it doesn't
often.
happen all the time, but I'm just, it can be tough to write.
It's the biggest thing that I've learned from pop music is just like the power of a good transition and
It
learning
has
how
to.
to stitch parts together.
Yeah.
I have a friend in a band, and he told me recently that and I love the band, I'm a fan of the band. He told me recently that they will write a song, break it all apart, end up they'll create a song, then they'll deduct it, then they'll deduct it again, and then they only ended up with one riff, and they start writing it all over again. I was like, you do that with every song.
Tool album then?
What's that? Yeah. And I'm just like, how do you get anything done that way? But I love their music, so it's working somehow for them. So I guess just whatever your process is with the people that you have.
Yeah, I think that just being able to really analyze your own music honestly and not think that your kid's the cutest fucking kid in the world.
Yeah.
Being able to admit that your kid's kind of ugly.
But our kid is kind of cute.
But yeah, you just gotta look at yourself and ask those questions, and don't do something just to do it, or like that. Well, we'll figure it out later, and then it eventually just becomes the way the song is. It's the worst.
Well, that's why the communication thing is so important. We try, I try and keep myself honest, because I write a lot of riffs on my own time, and I'll bring them in, and I like them a lot sometimes, and but I always want to know, I genuinely want to know when I play it if Russ likes it and if Shy likes it, because if everybody's not feeling it, it's not that enjoyable to work through the song. You know what I mean?
It's hard. I mean, you never know though, because sometimes you might have a riff that's kind of you know what I mean? It's like I don't know, some sort of a condiment. It's like a mustard or something.
Yeah.
And mustard by itself is whatever.
Right. But
maybe
greater...
fucking Russ lays down a bratwurst of a bass line, and all of a sudden you got a power combo.
He lays down
so
serious bratwurst bass line.
So sometimes something that seems mediocre can be really complemented well with something else. So you never know. It's always good to bring everything to the table.
Oh, for sure.
It's also surprising too if you write something that you don't necessarily like, and everyone's like, "That's great." That's oh, okay.
So Russ, why are you bringing us stuff that you don't necessarily like in the first place?
I don't eat bratwurst. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing too, and
veggie wurst.
I've found
beyond brat. Sorry.
With metal in particular, I've played in different styles of music over the years, but my experience working with people in metal over the years is I find that guitar players in metal tend to have a harder time playing things that aren't somewhat technical comfortably. They feel like it's this thing where, if something is easy to play or too simple, it's not good. It's not complex enough. It's not interesting enough. And it's there's going to be more to this song than your guitar part.
Yeah.
And sometimes all the part needs is something simple because everything else that's going on.
Yeah. I think we base all of our sound off of simplicity.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I could see it maybe being a little bit easier for you. I'm just thinking...
Not saying that there's no creative direction or any idea behind it.
You're not
but
shredding.
No.
Shredding in Horehound.
Russ and I were just talking about that earlier today. When I started playing guitar, and the stuff that I listened to was definitely not, shreddy.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Black Keys.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, I started playing guitar and I learned the blues, basics, so everything I do is basically based out of the pentatonic scale, and there's not a ton of variation there. And I knew pretty early on that I didn't have the patience, and I don't know that I had the technical facility to shred. I just don't think that that was ever going to be me. And I still like that stuff and I still listen to that stuff. But I think we're kind of fortunate that, in the style of music we play, simplicity is a little bit...
it's key.
Yeah, it's a little bit
and
more
there's
important.
juxtaposition, I would say, with the way I approach vocals for the style that we play, where it's not bluesy. I mean, I have my blues moments that are usually inspired by Brennan's playing. I would never, ever come up with that moment alone. But I do a lot of softer atmospheric things when he's playing bluesy, or just a shredding riff. I don't do it the typical, and then sometimes I growl, and that's not a typical I mean, not atypical or, like I guess it's not what the go-to is for the genre.
I'll say like,
so it kind of the juxtaposition there, and I'm still doing simple stuff. It's just simple stuff and a different kind of feel to it. And that works out.
yeah, I feel like there's a landscape that Horehound's music paints where you have this like, real dark environment, and the things that you're doing vocally could go from sounding like, like the breeze and the wind that's carrying through to like the thunder and the craziness and just like all the like elements.
Right.
It's like the music is the landscape, and your vocals like implement all of the different elements that happen in nature is a way that I think about your music and music that's like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that, like I said, I don't really write very technical stuff. I'm not a very technical guitarist. And so I think that if we try and be complex, it's more with the structure of the song and not with the parts themselves, like trying to make it interesting by doing things that, not doing verse, chorus, verse.
Yeah. So I'd be interested, like, just thinking about like with my experience now with Ricky and Evan and Greywalker, sometimes it's, talking with them about like, it's okay for something to be a little bit simpler here.
Yeah.
Do you ever come across a moment where you feel like something might be too simple and it needs to be more technical?
I think that more often than not, we're trying to push too hard to be different sometimes, when the simple answer is the easiest.
Less
answer.
is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that happens more often than not. We're like, we're trying to like transitions, like we talked about earlier. It's like the biggest thing. Like, you try and do so much to make the transition work, and at some point you're just like, this just doesn't work. Why are we doing this like this? Why not just try and do it at its most basic? And
yeah, we're always
overthinking
like,
it.
We always bring up KISS and like how like the joking acronym for the band KISS was Keep It Simple Stupid.
Right. Yeah.
So it's always this like, when we're having struggle like with a part, it's like KISS, keep it simple. Like, let's dumb this down. We're trying way too hard. We're not the fucking Dillinger Escape Plan. Like, just fucking.
I thought you kind of sounded like KISS a little bit.
Yeah,
I heard that.
I mean, the mentality, just.
But
in makeup.
yeah, the paint. Yeah.
Yeah. The boots.
yeah, yes. But like going back again to like my favorite thing about the band right now, the new favorite thing about the band right now is Russ, is because Russ is very adapting to any situation, but he still has his own sound, and it's kind of in between. Yeah. It's more of a straight metal bass than we've had throughout the career, but it fits like it fits enormously well with our sound. And he kind of is actually bonding I think with our new songs that we're writing, the vocals and the guitar line a little bit more than we've ever had.
Yeah, I feel like it's so important, especially with the style of music that you're doing. When you have something that has like, it's slower, it requires a lot of patience. I mean, a lot of people make jokes about like, what's the importance of a bass player in metal? But for like the style that you're doing, it's so important.
It's crucial.
I mean, he starts
it's just like
a third of the songs with like a bass solo. There's always a bass solo. There's always a guitar solo. Like,
you need to have somebody.
They're both prominent players, so
you need to have somebody that, like, I imagine you understand the genre and you're a fan of the genre.
Absolutely.
And that is huge, because there's been plenty of times where I've been in bands with people where it's like, oh, so-and-so, maybe they don't really listen to this style of music, but they can play drums. Mm-hmm. And then it never clicks right.
No.
Or any other instrument,
We all have various different music backgrounds, definitely, but there's some overlap, and we do understand all of the genres that we all listen to. One of us might be heavier into another, but we understand the basics behind it. And, there are a few bands we bond over, but where was I going with this? But yeah, so like the bass parts in this is not like what you were saying. They're not like a metal, like a technical death metal band would be.
Yeah.
That guy's just chugging along with whatever the guitar is doing.
Yeah, it's distinct. Yeah. It's distinct.
That's
always been intentional.
It's important to have that overlay somewhere. We don't all have to love the same bands. And we could disagree, but you have to have somebody that understands that. Like, when you have somebody coming in, like, I'd really like to be a part of your band, but like, I listen to classic rock.
Sure. It's like,
it's just never going to be there. That guy could be the best drummer, bass player, guitarist, whatever, but they're never going to pick up on the real feel of it, I guess, unless you kind of indulge yourself, go to these shows, understand the audience, all of it.
It's do you want to be in this band, or do you just want to be in a band?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a big
That's a
thing.
good way to
Yeah.
say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Russ, you said you moved up here from Nashville.
Yes.
So whenever they mention, you learning all the material very quickly, that just sounds like some Nashville ass shit. Were you playing a lot down there or filling in with bands or anything?
No, not really.
Really?
I was just
Okay.
playing with a couple of guys pretty much the whole time because, we liked heavier stuff. And down there is just not, it's hard to find people to play.
Okay. I just wouldn't have been surprised if you were just kind of like doing a lot of fill-in gigs and stuff. Because I know there's a lot of that in Nashville.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no heavy music down there, huh?
Not too much.
So what is it? Just like all Jack White clones?
Yeah. And country. Yeah.
Screechy vocals and screechy guitar lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack White's okay.
He's
I
all
don't
right.
mind him that much.
He's all right.
He's an okay guy.
Well, I mean, that's the tourists come there to see country music. So, that's pretty much all that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they come here for? Permanis.
Oh, for Christ's sake. I get so fucking annoyed.
They really shouldn't.
when like someone on Facebook will be like, hey, we're gonna come visit Pittsburgh. Like, where should we go? And some Yinzer Jagoff's like, oh my God, Yin's gotta get down Permanis. It's like there's so many fucking good restaurants in Pittsburgh that have Pittsburgh style food. Like, it doesn't have to be coleslaw or sauerkraut on a fucking sandwich.
Sure.
French fries
Yeah.
on a sandwich.
I mean, I love Permanis.
I
I
love
like it too.
Permanis.
but I would
think
it would
great.
never be the first thing that I
Yeah.
would
It's not a
suggest to anyone.
culinary exception to the city.
Yeah.
It's kind of like where you go when you're drunk at 2 a.m. because nowhere else is open.
I mean, if I had a friend
The
that was like,
carbs are alcohol friendly. That's all I've found in my life.
if I had a friend that was like a total piece of garbage, I'd probably be like, yeah, Permanis is your thing. But everybody's different. So, we're talking about Pittsburgh sandwiches. We're talking about Pittsburgh. We're talking about metal. We're not talking a lot about Pittsburgh metal. I don't get the opportunity to sit down with a lot of Pittsburgh metal bands, which is kind of silly considering I play in a metal band in the city. Just for whatever reason, there aren't a whole lot of metal bands that like to sit down and talk. Not the most social people. I've made a lot of good friends over the years, but there's still a lot of weirdos in the local metal scene. So I'm going to direct this to you, Shai, as somebody that outside of the band, you've promoted a lot of shows. You continue to do so, and you've worked and been a part of the local metal community for a very long time. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the Pittsburgh metal community as a whole? And then we can get into the subgenres of it.
As a whole, we're very separated, unfortunately. But within the subgenres, it's very tight for each one, I feel. And I feel like definitely, since I'm the old head here, with the scene here, I see things die off and then come back 10 years later. And then like in that interim, something else comes through, like just different styles. 10 years ago, all you could find was a whole bunch of death metal bands in Pittsburgh, and they all kind of sounded the same. You know what I mean? Like there was a really like lack, and a lot of people became just kind of like, well, that's not my style. And it was like 5 shows a week with the 5 bands playing together all the same time. Like it was just kind of so much redundancy. But right now I see a ton of music and a ton of different styles. But I feel like a lot of the people kind of stick to their kind of crowd, and I kind of want it to be more crossed over. Because if you did go to some of those shows, you would find that, oh, they're good.
Yeah.
Like this is good. But, just because, I just feel like Pittsburgh could be more open and sharing with each other, crossing shows and stuff like that a little bit more would be helpful.
I think it's starting to happen.
So subgenres are great here, but like overall, I think we're always up in the better markets for metal overall, but we're still a very tiny city that don't go out on Mondays or Sunday nights or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's still kind of like limited, where Pittsburgh has always been like a place of people that are creatures of habit, that are stuck to like going to bed a certain time, so they're not going to do this on a weekday or whatever. And that lacks bringing in bands. And I think that needs to happen a little bit more too. But it's overall strong, and stronger than it's been for a while. I was at a show. I was working a show last night, and I looked down on my phone and I was scrolling through, and I saw like 20 different people checking to 4 different shows that were like mainly happening in the area. And it just made me smile. And they were all different bands playing, and it was good to see people going out and supporting music. And like 5 years ago to 10 years ago, it was half that crowd at every show.
Totally.
So it's good to see it, but I think we just need to unite a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And also stop promoting bands that don't work hard and aren't doing something unique.
Or
Sure.
just get those friggin' bands to do the work. I mean, they're the bands that don't do the work are the bands that start part of the problem in the conversation anyway. Like if you're not there, I think there are a lot of, as far as the Pittsburgh metal scene goes, it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic. I think that people complain a lot about things that they're not doing anything to fix. I think that the booking is getting smarter. You know, sure, people aren't always going to come out on a Monday, but also like, don't book 5 fucking bands on a Monday and start at 8 o'clock. No one's staying out till 1:30
Sure.
on a Monday when they have to go to work.
Or sometimes 9 o'clock
yeah,
with 5 bands.
I'm in a band and I work full time. I love a lot of the bands here, but like I'm not staying out till 12:30, 1 o'clock just to see a half-hour set. Like, you know, be smart about it. Like start the shows earlier, have less bands, be smart, you know. But yeah, it's annoying when you try and anything, but you know, especially with, you know, when you try and work hard to like get people to come out to a show and you know the other bands aren't doing it, you know, the other bands on the bill might not be doing it, or you just know that people are being lazy about it, and it's like you're part of the problem. You know?
It can be really, really.
Those are the ones that are bitching about the scene,
Yes,
by the way.
that's-
The people that
that's
aren't
exactly
doing
what I
anything.
meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does want something.
It
handed
is easy
them.
to bitch, but just get in there and do some work. It's not that hard.
And I think too, the one thing that I've dealt with a lot with Greywalker, and this is nothing against any of the bands that we've played with, but we've tried really, really hard to play with a wide variety of bands and different styles of music.
I've noticed that, yeah.
And I have no problem playing with bands, even if I don't like your band. I think that that's the thing too. I think a lot of bands that I've dealt with don't want to play shows because it's like, oh, well, that band doesn't sound like us, or we don't really like them. And it's like, yeah, but they're fucking cool. And they'll bring 40 people.
Yeah, that's
why not
that's
play
what
a
we
show
want
with
all
them?
the time. We're like, can we get a different audience?
It's because it's not your thing doesn't mean it's not somebody else's thing. And I think there are a lot of bands that are playing shows for selfish reasons, which I guess you should, but in some way too.
Playing live is the most selfish thing
Yeah.
you could ever do. It's my like most indulgent thing that I do.
But I think if you're being selfish to a point where it's like every band on this bill needs to sound like us and it's all our people and that's
Yeah.
it, and then you just have
You're
the same
only
20
limiting-
people that always come out,
Yeah.
you're not doing
not
anybody
doing
any
anything
favors.
for
No, you're
scene,
limiting
yeah.
yourself, and you're limiting the other potential shows that you like, the other people in the scene.
You're
That's what I'm
dragging
saying. Yeah,
everyone to
Crossover.
Gooski's to watch your band practice. That's like all it is. It's
Yes.
not like a fucking show.
Yeah, we love when we play with different styles of bands. I mean, early on, I don't know, 3 years
Also,
ago.
we love playing Goose Goose.
Yeah, we do love
Love
playing
it.
Gooskies. It's for me, that's the best vibe in the city. Like if you're in a metal band to play there, like it's always a good crowd. The crowd's always into it.
The sound shit, and you still like power through it. Like it's so fun.
But we played a show like probably 3 years ago now, and you know I'd probably told you earlier, but like I'm not huge into punk music, but like you know I'll still go out and see stuff. And we played a show with there's a Pittsburgh band Lansbury, I think they're called.
Mm-hmm.
They're like I don't want to categorize them because I don't know what they consider themselves, but definitely outside of what I would normally listen to. And we played with like Mothership, so it was like Stoner Rock as a headliner, us in the middle. It was like kind of doom metal, and then kind of like a punk metal kind of thing. And it was fantastic. You know what I mean? And
Limousine Beach also played that.
Yeah, Limousine
which was a
Beach.
very different band.
Yeah.
Like a party band, basically. Like a
yeah,
party
and it was a great
bluesy,
turnout. And you know,
70s
the
style.
whole concept of like getting people who would not normally hear your music to hear your music, like that's the whole benefit of all of it. You know, and that it can definitely work, but you got to like do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that if you are not in a position to be on the road every weekend or more, and you know you're finding more than half of the shows that you're playing are in your hometown, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice by not trying to at least play with different bands
100%.
every show.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to actually be able to expand your reach in the city. There's a lot of fucking people that live in Pittsburgh, a lot of people that like heavy music.
Yeah.
But they're not going to every local show.
They're not going to underground music at
Yeah.
all. You see them all at like Stage E when Primus Mastodon plays or something. Oh, there's a whole bunch of people here. Why don't we see these people at any of the local shows in Pittsburgh? And I think some of them are from the suburbs and they're driving in.
I was gonna
but
say,
I want them
because
to.
half of them live in Cranberry.
But I
with their
want-
fucking 10 kids.
But I want them to be in the suburbs and still drive in. You don't have to do it ever as much as I do it. Of course not. But like if you did it like once a month, it would be really cool.
Mhm. And that kind of goes into another part of the local music scene, which is local bands working with the promoters that bring in bands, and you have to sell the tickets and open up for the band. It sucks.
Yes.
Sure. But I find that a problem occurs when bands like maybe Horehound or Grey Walker are like, fuck that, I don't want to do this. So then, bullshit, dipshit band plays the opening slot on the big tour, and they are the representation of local music to every single person that doesn't go to local music shows. So I feel like there's a bit of a responsibility that I've felt over time where it's like, fuck, if there's a show that I think we would be a good representation of the local music scene to open up for, let's try to get on that. So, we've been able to, we've done like opening up for Dark Tranquility was an awesome show for us because it's like a very similar sort of thing for us. And, we made a lot of fans at that show, and a lot of people were like, who are you guys? Where are you from? We're like, we're from here.
Yeah.
We play shows a lot. If you like us and like, more extreme metal stuff, there's plenty of opportunity. Please follow us. Please come out.
We're always looking out for those kinds of shows that are coming through. I mean, when we opened for Monolord, we had to sell tickets.
But they have to make sense for us to do it.
Totally.
But we also always have the conversation. It's like, we'll say, hey, we're thinking about asking to be on this Monolord show. Is everybody on board? And if everybody says yes, and it's like, well, guess what? You got to sell tickets if you want to do it. So like, if we ask to be on this and they tell us we got it, like, sell tickets.
But we actually fit it so well to our, like, it's been fitting so well that we don't even have to try.
That's
because we have the people that come out to our shows that would go to this other show. And so we're like, hey, buy the tickets off of us. We don't even really push, and they do. So we actually have a really great fan base. Like it's small, but every single person counts in our fan base in Pittsburgh locally. And like, they're just always really like, the tickets sell themselves almost because we're paired up with it.
It's the same thing with us. If we agree to play one of those shows, it's never like this is going to be real tough. It's like, no, we know that it's everybody that we
it's like
know
the
is
principle
going to the
of
show.
it kind of sucks. And sometimes we've played with bands that are really good and have been like legends in our scene, but like we actually brought some more people than they did when they played. And there was probably should have been enough promotion time for it and everything, but we still brought more, and we know we have worked for those ticket sales too. And that band that's touring is getting the money, but also they put their work in, or we wouldn't even be trying to get on that show in the first place. Like, so it's never like none of us are in this for the money. We understand there's no money in it.
The band needs money.
But we do have principles about that. And the principle is we're not going to work our ass off to sell tickets for someone who's going to make money off of us. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
just to play.
Tickets.
But there are certainly a lot of, he said Monolord, Ufa Mama, The Obsessed, Karma to Burn, Weed Eater, like just bands like that come through. We don't sound like any of those bands, but we're an obvious local choice, fit that could go on to those. And we have no problem in getting on them either. Like we don't have to fight to get on them either because we've sold so many tickets last time.
Sure, you build those relationships with the promoters.
We do the work, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking
about. Right? Yeah. So, but we have, when we first started out, we were on this, I won't mention any of the bands that played, but a very popular 90s band came through that like made waves. And they're a little outdated, but I like had nostalgia with it. So we certainly liked it. We played at the Hard Rock with them, and they put 4 other bands on it on like a Friday. So we're like, there's families around us watching this old school like 90s technical industrial feel old metal. And then there's us.
Was it Nirvana?
It was Nirvana.
Was it Bush?
It was Bush. It was
Playing
Nirvana
16
Bush.
Stone in its entirety.
Yes. Nothing that popular at all, actually. But still, like, there's people going to come out for this. And then, so they put like 2 redneck metal bands on with us. And it was just too many bands.
It was a nightmare of a show. They were like super disagreeable to work with too. Like
no one showed up on time.
No one showed up for loading on time except us. And then like the other band got there and they wanted to use our kit. And JD's like, sure, well, you can use our kit, but we want to go on right before the headliner. And they're like, well, but we have people coming. And it's like, well, yeah, we have people coming too. And we showed up on time and we sold tickets. Like, what the fuck?
And you want to use our drum kit. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it works. But like, yeah, so it was like
they still gig around.
This could have been a good show, but the promotion was like, they let these bands come on because these people will bus. They'll bring like a school bus in.
Yeah.
With their friends from like Moon Township or like further out, even like, you know, somewhere. And they're all into that music, and then they get up there and they act a fool, like they're kicking and punching and like doing like they're trying to, it's just, there are misfits. So we're not going to do those shows anymore, basically, is like the bottom line to that. Like we did one of our members wanted to play with his old school band, and I was agreeable with it because it was nostalgia to me. I knew what it would be like, but I didn't know what the other locals would be like. And that would be 3 locals. It was too much. So we won't do those anymore. We just don't have to.
Especially with those ticket shows. If there's like, it's usually, we'll only take them now if we're the only local
that's
on it.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous. It's like you have 3 locals on this all trying to sell 50 tickets
to all the same people.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. And that it's like if you lack the confidence in this show that you need to book 3 or 4 locals to open up, it's like, why am I playing?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe found a smaller venue,
Yeah, it's too fucking much. It could be at the Moose. It's like
they played the Moose the year before, and it was a sellout, and it was a good show. And there were good bands locally supported. It didn't turn out well for us. But we're not going to fight for those shows.
Yeah, we're
not even going to try for them.
I think
just got to be strategic.
Ultimately, it's important to have those experiences as much as they suck, because now you know.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Every failure is an opportunity to learn. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong? How did that happen? How can we make sure it doesn't happen again? Then you move forward a stronger person.
Is this my beautiful wife?
Yeah.
Talking Heads joke. Mm-hmm. Great.
I just watched you ever see the Muppets version where Kermit is David Byrne? You know what I'm talking about?
I may have, but like I don't think I have. I think I want to. I'm going to check it out.
It's tight.
I have watched some renditions of Muppets takes with them doing stuff, and it's great.
Man, I miss the Muppets. So one thing that, speaking of the Muppets and things that are visual, Horehound is a very sonic band, but I don't see a whole lot of visuals, music videos, things like that, promoting in 2020, being a band, getting out there. Has you starting a TikTok page anytime soon? What's up with your social media game?
What is TikTok?
It's social media for teenagers.
Okay.
The social media game could improve for sure.
Okay.
It's a conversation we have all the time.
So, I'm going to take part responsibility of this. I hate being videoed. I hate photographs of myself. And I will take images of the band and I'll take video of the band doing their thing, but I never include myself in it. So when you do see stuff, it's usually that part of it, like in the background stuff that like we have no control over. But if somebody takes photos of us or video of us, and sometimes we pay people to do it, like, hey, can you come out and do this? But we really don't want to be in your face with an image because we don't have an image. We have a sound. Not saying we can't improve on that a little bit. But yeah, we're more just about music. I don't really see us being superstars in any real way. None of us are really hammy here. Like we're not, hey, me.
Yeah. I mean, we have a music video for one of our songs, Lapel de Vide, and it was a guy that I found on Reddit that does these videos. He basically just takes video, like stock video feeds, and melds them together, in conversation with you about what kind of sound you want. And so we're open to stuff like that. And it's not that we're anti any of that. I don't think. It's just that I think that we need to learn a little bit more and get better at it.
It's hard. It's really hard.
It's honestly very, it's this conversation around like, do you post every day just to post every day? Or should you have meaningful content?
Yeah.
Or like, is it possible to post every day and still have meaningful content? Which I don't know that it is. You know?
And we have had like talks about doing videos and stuff, but we focus so much, so we were talking about like how it was we went so long without writing, but like for most bands that have only been together for 5 years, they don't have as much content as we have musically. We really do like to write music. That's like kind of our headspace is what we like to do. And so when you want to go out of town and then play your few local shows, and then there's a fest here and you're trying to write and then you want to record, where does like the video take precedent? Like where do you push that to be the priority? And we kind of need to do that at some point. Like I know it's important. People like the visual in that respect, but like even when we do it, we're not going to be all super flashy or
committing.
We're probably not going to be like.
Speak for yourself.
I actually am speaking for myself. Did I not say I start this that I'm the guilty one? Yeah. But and I love high end art. I love video and I love all that stuff. I love making it. I just don't like being a part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I could see like, finding like, like somebody with a good vision that almost makes more of like a short film to something, not necessarily like, you're performing in a video.
Yes.
More of like
that's probably something.
Yeah, and we've
you
been
would
much
see.
more in line with that. I mean, even when we get photographs taken, it's like, are we just going to a fucking cemetery? Is that what we're doing? Because we're a metal band. You know what I mean? Like, can we do something different? It's so hard to
we
find
struggle.
something.
I've been looking for some railroad tracks.
Yeah.
For us to take. A photo.
Yeah, we struggle
Or a forest.
so hard with it. And the other thing too is because
you want to you want to have the professional photo. You want it to look organic.
but we're not models.
Right.
But
you also don't want to
we're
be
not
trite.
models.
Again, speak for
we're
yourself.
not we're not forest rangers, so why would we be in the woods? Like you know what I mean? Like, why the hell, but like, yeah, our first photo shoot was actually in Allegheny Cemetery. And I said, let's do this without graves. Like, let's just get like the pretty trees, because it's like just somewhere central that you could walk in during the day for free. And so like the images, I think we did have one in front of a mausoleum.
Yeah.
But like, we favored the one with the tree branches behind us. But like us to be like in the back alley next to the dumpster. I mean, sometimes we end up there, but like that's not where the band hangs out together.
Yeah.
Like we're not practicing next to a dumpster. It's just weird. Like it's hard to come up with a concept that doesn't seem overthought or trite or whatever.
And it's funny now, like we have our promo shots that we took for our last album. And now we're getting ready to record a new thing. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we should get a new promo. And I look at the one that we have and I'm like, if we take another photo, it's going to look exactly the same. We have the same lineup. If anything, we've all just gotten a little fatter and balder, if anything. So we should probably keep this one. But it's still the
Hitting
same
too
photo.
close to home, dude.
It's like I just want to fucking like load it in the Photoshop and just like change the colors a bit so it looks like it's a different location somehow. Like I feel like we should have just taken one shot in front of a green screen
screen it,
and then just been swapping that out every 2 years.
Yeah, you might as well. And it's like, do we smile? No, we're in a fucking metal band. We don't smile. And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
we gotta get at least a couple black and white shots out there. It's like, I think we need to get more comfortable with putting ourselves out there a little bit more, but we also need to know how to do that better. And not just being comfortable doing it, being comfortable that we know what we're doing and that it's going to be successful. Because a lot of the times when you post on anything, it's just shouting into the wind. You're not getting anything back from it. You don't know how it's doing, and I'm definitely not a social media expert. You know what I mean? It's a tough game. I don't get it completely.
Yeah, it's interesting because in terms of social media as a whole, it's definitely a youth-driven culture.
Yeah,
and with music and rock and heavy metal, also youth-driven. But what Horehound is doing and what Grey Walker is doing, we're not making music for young people by any means. It's definitely like music for people in our age range. So it's like trying to implement social media tactics for our target demographic that is already sick of using Facebook and Instagram to begin with. How do we tell anybody about what we're doing?
Yeah.
It's really, I don't know. It's just like, fuck, just gotta make music, put it on CD, because all of these old heads still actually buy CDs in metal, at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah.
And then just play shows and be good at playing shows. That's all we can really do.
Yeah.
The Instagram stuff's just kind of
And
like
that's
extra.
That's kind of what the mindset becomes too, is like we're focusing on all this stuff, and then the Instagram and the Facebook and the Twitter get left behind. And it's like, do I have time to do this?
And the
it's
bigger
like,
bands have people paid for to do this for them.
Yeah.
So to us, it's just, where do we prioritize it?
If there's anyone out there that wants a scammy unpaid internship to run our social media,
You know what's funny? Honestly, so before you came in, I mentioned I had that band Skies of Terra in here.
Mm-hmm.
And like they had a couple friends here with them that were just hanging out. And like one of them was like actually running their social media for them, and somebody else was like doing stuff. So they had like people that were like helping them that are just like
Can
close
I ask,
friends.
were they all young?
No, they were in their like late 20s, early 30s. Like my age.
That's young.
Yeah.
You're still not jaded.
I don't know how old they all were. They seemed like they were a little younger than me, but probably in their upper 20s.
I mean, were they just doing it as friends though?
Yeah.
Fuck. What kind of like?
Well, we don't
What's
have
it
any
like to have friends?
Yeah. What kind of? What's it like to have friends like that? Jesus Christ. No one's doing any of that for us.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just, you just gotta, I don't know, utilizing your resources. I suppose that it's, I don't know.
Yeah,
I was like, bless you, because I don't have anybody to do that shit either.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly looking into it. Like Shine and I'll send each other articles all the time about like, you know, how to be more effective at social media marketing, and you know, very quickly it just gets over my head. And,
I actually purchased a class, like one of those Udemy classes, like a year and a half ago.
Go?
I logged in.
Sick.
strong.
But yeah. So
Even at the old college
there's
track.
that.
Whenever I do,
There is that.
yeah, whenever I do research on the stuff like that, I find that like sure all these things that I read make sense, but it doesn't make sense for the people that I'm trying to get my shit in front of.
Yeah, exactly.
That's definitely true. Like you kind of have to just get your hands dirty in what we do to figure it out for you, for your capacity. Like, you know, a lot of these people are just so much more popular in style of music. So like you have to figure out who you know, the shows that you go to, the people, you know, you kind of have to like have life experience in it to start getting that equation. But then you introduce other things that you're not so into, like, so like we were saying, social media is like, I mean, personally, as a person, I just post band stuff that I'm supporting or whatever, and then cat memes, just because I like to keep it light. And I like kitties. But like, I just keep it light there and just like a presence there. But I don't think we're absent with social media.
No,
I think for what we're doing,
we're just not as,
we could be doing a little bit more, but I think that like people probably appreciate that we're not in your face all the time.
Yeah.
We update you when we need to.
we're open to suggestion.
Yeah.
The one thing that really annoys me that I see a lot of bands doing is reposting memes. It annoys the shit out of me. Now, if you're a band and if you make your own meme, that's fine. It's not the way I would go about personally, but at least you're making your own thing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bands that just share like their funny guitar memes and stuff, and like from like their band's page, not like their personal pages.
Right.
And it's just like, tell me when you have a show. Tell me when you have a new album out. I don't need. What the fuck are we doing here?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's like we talked about. Are you just posting for the sake of posting, or like, is there a point to it? Right. And that's where it gets away from me. It's like, I don't want to do that, and I don't know what to say. Like, we didn't practice this week. What the fuck do you want me to post about? Like,
And even if we did practice this week, we practiced last week too. Do you want another clip of something we're working on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
oh wow, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Cool.
Horehound has exciting new stuff coming like every week. How often?
Well, that's the worst thing. Those are the worst posts. And please stop this. Anybody who's doing it,
I've been guilty of it.
vague posting for your band. Well, stop vague posting for yourself. But something's coming up. No, don't say something exciting's coming up. Just show us when it's exciting and you can announce it. Like you're just, it's like, just don't breathe air that you don't have to breathe.
Excellent. Totally.
Thank you.
You got it.
It's perfect.
So with all of that being said, as we're rounding the corner to the station, we're getting ready to wrap this whole thing up. Is there anything that we want to talk about specifically before I pull the plug on this motherfucker? Or was this just kind of like a general chat?
All right. So Horehound. So we just came out with our third release EP last November.
Yeah.
And only a year before then, we had our second record. And those are our like, that's where we're going, guys. So like, if you want to check us out, check out our second and third release.
Growling.
Yeah.
No.
Guy in Colorado who hates her screaming.
Only on the second one.
Okay.
I heeded his advice and didn't scream on a third one. No, I just only do it where I feel like it fits. And our 2-song EP, I just didn't want to then, you know?
Fair enough.
So it's those are the two I would direct you to. Our first show in Pittsburgh is coming up on 3/21. It will be with Ernst, The Long Hunt, Iron Flame, Horse Burner, and ourselves. And it is a Descendants of Crom showcase. So these are bands that have played and will play Descendants of Crom again. It's a little local and also regional showcase because there's regional bands in there. And I think it's a great time for you to come out. It's $12 for 5 bands. It's going to be a great night. And then we have a bunch of shows. We're going out to New England Stoner and Doom Festival in May. We're hitting Philly. We're hitting New York. We're just going to be doing a whole bunch of like offshoots. We're going to be touring a little bit later this year. And we just got a whole bunch of stuff that we're coming out with. I can't tell you when a new record's coming out because it could be a while, but we are writing.
Awesome.
And it's going to be heavy as fuck.
Hell yes.
Yes.
So, and then for the people, the old people that have their social media, where can they find Horehound?
We are Facebook / Horehound Band.
Mm-hmm.
We are Horehound 420 on Insta, as the kids say.
And Horehound 420 on Twitter.
Yes.
And you can find our Bandcamp at pro-sludge.com.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
And find that Bandcamp.
Yeah,
and
we have
buy
lots
things.
of cool merch up there.
Yes.
And before we wrap this all up, I'm going to give you Kermit the Frog, Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime.
Oh, this is amazing.
Oh, boy.
I wish I liked Talking Heads.
This is amazing.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself in another part of the world. You may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here? Letting the days go by. Letting me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone. Once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. And you may ask yourself, how do I work this? And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's on. Once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
Dude, those shoulder pads are killing me.
Dude,
Same as it ever was.
they put so much work into
That's
this.
amazing.
It's gorgeous.
That's awesome.
Those little leg shake.
That is actually my favorite part. His little dance.
It
Jerk.
fucking rules.
Fantastic.
Same as it ever was. Terrible.
I relate more and more to those two old guys.
Dude.
Every day, dude.
Hell yeah.
I started at an early age relating to them. They were always my favorite.
It's awesome. I love the Muppets. I just wanted to share that.
That was great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you all for being here. And that is all, folks. One more time. Thanks so much.
Thank you
Shai,
very much.
Russ,
you.
Brendan. Whorehound! Heavy
Whorehound.
metal! Ah! Be sure to check them out. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the beat 2020. Woo, woo! Thanks so much for listening. And we are done, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
it. That's a podcast. It'll be on the internet forever.
Cool.